Hey friend, welcome to my channel, Creating Elude Mental Gems. This channel is dedicated to leveling up in all areas of your life. So let us learn together, be together, but most importantly, grow together. Now, without further ado, let's get into this video. So today's video is all about sororities and fraternities, okay? The dark side of it. No, these people, the ties go deep. It's very dark. It's a very dark rabbit hole, and you gotta be careful because there's a lot of people around me that were in sororities and fraternities, and they take it personally when you say anything bad about pledging and the Greek lifestyle, etc. So you got to be cautious with these people. But hey, we're here to speak the truth. I used to want to be an AKA so bad. I used to want to pledge, but a lot of circumstances happened where I just didn't. And I praise God. I know a lot of people have pledged, and you're watching before you get all high. In the comments, try to be as open-minded as possible. We will talk about some real stories here. I will share some real things that happen, and I am open-minded to hearing perspective from you guys. I'm curious to see. Before we go any further into our video, I really want everyone watching to have a clear understanding of the history of Greek fraternities and sororities. Where did it come from? And what is the origin behind it? And so we're going to get into that. And I'm going to share a video from Days of Noah, which I'm going to link in the description for you guys to, if you guys want to go ahead and watch the full video on that. He did a great job of going into the history of fraternities and bringing the link, correlating it to secret societies, etc. And I hope you guys enjoy.
First Greek letter fraternity was started at the College of William and Mary in Virginia. It's called Phi Beta Kappa, 1776. Known as an honor society, also a secret society, Phi Beta Kappa stood for love of learning is the guide to life. Here at the first Greek fraternity and second university in history, next to Harvard, we find early forms of academic secret knowledge programming. Founded in 1776, Phi Beta Kappa shared the same inception as what we know as the Bavarian Illuminati of Adam Weishaupt. Here we recognize that the first fraternities were directly connected to the world elite, not only by year of inception, but by the fact that all early American universities were Jesuit-developed institutes, and Weishaupt himself was a Jesuit professor and Mason. Included, all originating members of Phi Beta Kappa were Masons. This honor society would also influence the development of the Skull and Bones Society, which modeled itself directly after it. In fact, all modern college fraternities and honorary or secret societies are patterned after the Phi Beta Kappa chapter. To sum it up, the fraternity in general is not only a Jesuit Masonic creation, but it's an application pool for the elite to funnel in agents for their magnum opus, or great work. Sororities are built in the same fashion, described by the development of Pi Beta Phi at Monmouth College of Illinois in 1867. All were secret societies based on secular Greek doctrines and Masonic organization. Yet they claimed to be Christian. I remember seeing all the fraternity and sorority students on campus. They were like the cool kids, the in crowd, almost like celebrities on campus, next to the football and basketball players, whom were also fraternal members. They seemed to have a special place in the school, like they enjoyed some type of favoritism. That always perplexed me. Plus, I thought, why Greek? What is the deal with all these foreign letters and forced Greek culture that's ancient and has no real relevance today? Well, very little did I know. Greek culture and history had all to do with what we call modernity. See, I never knew America and modern society was founded in Platonism, the work of Plato, namely the Republic, and Greek science, mythology, and philosophical hermeticism that originates in Egypt, or Kemet, which is the foundation of Anglican doctrines of Magna Carta Europe, which influenced the Constitution, or Plato's story of Atlantis and the Atlanteanism, which comprises the identity of Masonry and the Roman Catholic Church, the Jesuit orders, and the Puritans, which created our American university system of education, i.e. mind control, via ancient Greco-Egyptian mysticism and elitist social organizations. This is why it's all Greek. This is why the ethnicities of all kinds are herded into cults taking on Greek identities and mantras. These fraternities and sororities are recruiting bases for the new Atlantis, the new Republic, or New Age, the new Babylon. In Greco-Atlantean lore, which actually came from Egyptian tales of Thoth, were described to be run by a high elite Aryan race, Only Aryans were allowed on council and as high priests. Atlantis is the origin of white supremacy doctrines and the Aryan race ideology that has pretty much always been a pillar within America's foundation, especially when you gather that all fraternities, science, politics, social studies, and education as a whole come directly out of this Platonist, Atlantean, superior Aryan race global domination alliance. So you pledge your allegiance to an ancient deity to earn your Greek letters, basically. You take on a new identity and proclaim your new position as a slave under the authority that governs your body and mind. This is all ancient, old world occultism, disguised as brotherhood, love for your fellow man, and community service. Yet it's based on mind control. It's merely a filtration system for the elite to pick their pawns and brand their cattle. It's like a pyramid scheme in a way, a multi-level marketing system. At the bottom, you have the entry-level group, the frats, which is focused on recruitment. This is where cult programming takes place. Identity is broke down and rebuilt through trauma. They call it hazing. Above the recruitment level is masonry, which plays as the intersection between academic fraternities and the elite organizations of the world. Above masonry sits the secret societies and knighthoods, think tanks and elite clubs like Skull and Bones, Bohemian Grove, and Club of Rome, or Knights of Columbus. These are the levels that truly structure society, and the levels above those pretty much approve the protocols and form the decision-making base. And mind you, the majority of people who join frats and sororities are completely ignorant to these things. So, a lot of people are innocent when they get involved with these organizations. They have no idea of what's actually going on. And plus, once they complete pledging and cross over, the programming is already finished. Mentally and spiritually, they have been transformed, and now are loyal and dedicated members. This is why things like rituals, hazing, and taking oaths are so important to accomplish initiation. Because once these things have been accomplished, the initiate is no longer an individual and no longer in control, dedicated by oath under a Greek deity and organization. Not only is this their new family, but it's their new authority figure and source of identity. See how this works? So we understand that frats and sororities came out of masonry and Greco-Egyptian polytheism. But where did they begin? Well, for that, we must go to Greece. Around 750 BC to be exact. Fraternal orders of modern times are directly patterned after ancient Babylonian cult groups, which took a shape in Greece by the influence of Homer and the polytheistic witchcraft he was famous for. Divination and theurgy was heavily practiced in cults that gave worship to the Olympians and other deities. Apollo, Hermes, Aphrodite, all were worshipped in cults that required private initiation by way of ritual, drugs and wine, sacrifice, and mainly torment or trauma. We call it hazing. This is where it originates. Ancient Greeks believed by being initiated in the cult through hazing, they would gain some type of divine favor from the revered deity. Also required was ritual, oath-taking, dancing and stepping to summon the spirits. And it was very, very prevalent. And cutting and branding the skin to the gods. It's surely no coincidence that all these practices are intrinsic parts of modern fraternity and sororities, because they are merely modern versions of ancient Greek fraternal cults. And as you go from fraternity to masonry to secret society orders, these practices increase in their severity as the deity's demands become more and more extreme and monstrous. I didn't gain complete understanding of the fraternal mindset and development until I studied Greek fraternal cults and their use of mind control techniques and theurgy during initiation. I gained understanding through discovering that the exact techniques used in ancient Greece are used in modern-day fraternity and sorority pledging processes. What's more is the fact that these techniques are scientifically defined as cult programming or monarch mind control slave procedures in modern terms. But actually, they originate in Egypt, part of the Kemetic mysticism found in the Book of the Dead. Now we understand the bulk of Greek mythology and science derives from Egypt. That's pretty much common sense. Hence their use of these mind control and spirit summoning procedures in their cult initiations. Even modern day satanic cults utilize the equivalent form of techniques in their initiations and rituals alike. But for now, we will focus on fraternity procedures and cult programming. So what type of techniques are used and what type of goals are achieved in this monarch style programming? Well, in cults and any form of mind controlled organization, you need two main things. First, the destruction of the initiate's ego and identity. This is usually done through trauma, whether it be psychological, emotional, physical, sexual. And 2 would be the invocation of a demonic entity. So this is the spiritual aspect here. This is usually accomplished through drugs or alcohol or both, and always sexual acts, which are also forms of invoking rituals. These 2 concepts, also known as dissociation and invocation, will create a docile mind-controlled individual. Fraternities and sororities implement these methods directly into their pledging process to guarantee loyal brothers and sisters that will make eager tools for their elite social magnum opus and one world government, and never question their duties or moral fabric of their endeavors. Let's look at more required concepts in this type of mind control. We will find the blind faith and conformity. It's very important. Groupthink, very important. And a lack of personal identity. All right, this is basically groupthink. A fabricated sense of family is created through humiliation and torment, sleep deprivation, and cruelty. This part of cult programming is called trauma bonding. When groups of people endure pain, embarrassment, or near-death experiences together, they tend to form a strong bond that is based on the shared experience. This type of bond is recreated during hazing to produce artificial bonds from forced moments of trauma. Not only are bonds artificially formed for brotherhood or sisterhood, but individuals' identities are shattered and split, producing a cognitive dissonance, duality, or the double mind. This is also known as monarch programming. Let's look at the name hazing, which is the practice of rituals requiring harassment, humiliation, utilized as a way to initiate a person in a group. We see this practiced in gangs, sports teams, military units, fraternities, sororities, and social clubs. What is significant is that all of these groups require a degree of conformity and mind control and in-group behavior to function properly. And importantly, to further parallel hazing with trauma-based mind control or satanic ritual, it always contains physical, psychological, or emotional, included with sexual majority of rituals. Even the term hazing itself references mind control. We could look at it that way. Or a hypnotized state, being in a confused haze, breaking down the spirit of a person until they are forced into a haze state of dissociation. This concept can be further described in the cognitive dissonance theory by Leon Festinger. From ancient Babylon to the new Babylon, these hazing rituals continue to be utilized in the initiation tradition of pagan culture and Satan worship, which is exactly what fraternities and sorority membership is. Now, for non-believers or atheists or agnostics, none of this will really mean much to you because secularism goes hand in hand with the fraternal order paradigm, the New Age movements, and Luciferianism as well. But for those of us in Christ, it is important to understand Satan's purpose in forming these societies from the beginning of education through the minds and actions of wicked men. Not only to create a secret society social network or one world government consolidation system, but a way to monopolize the spirit of those in power, program the elite and its web of control to serve him and fulfill his bidding, share his desires and lusts, vanity and greed, and overall corrupt the minds and spirits of talented children of God, gifted believers in Christ, and ensure that anyone or any social institution in power would operate under his control and reverberate his doctrine. And most of all, live and function in complete disobedience to the Most High and his perfect word, righteousness, and truth. This is why frats and sororities require oath-taking, which is forbidden when one reads Matthew 5:34 and James 5:12. Branding is also required in many cases, which is also against the word of the Father stated in Leviticus 19:28. In many cases, pledges are beaten, forced to draw blood, or involuntarily handled sexually. Some even die. Demonic activity like these are mere routines and customary in pledging processes of initiation, all which split the mind into dissociation, corrupting one's morals and dignity, breaking down their identity to rebuild a new one, destroying who they once were prior, forming a new corrupted spirit, like the phoenix through the flame, or the next step up to Kabbalatry. Like all the ancient Gnostics, Masons, and Magi of day past, these new initiates deny the Father for secret knowledge and favor in accordance. As the Greeks sought favor from the gods, pledges seek favor from the world. From this firm or that corporation, these councils and them who they wish to be revered by, pride, arrogance, preferential treatment, praises of man and not the Father, the ability to rule over others and join the elite classes of society, the pursuing of happiness through power. One might want to ask, does any of this apply to the Father? Is this how the Most High Creator of all things would want his children to operate? Oh, but people join to give back for community service and networking, friendship, or job opportunities. You join for a good reason. Please tell me one good reason to disobey the Heavenly Father. Where there is darkness, there is no light. Let's make some connections. Just like Greece would have specific cults with Apollo over them, or Zeus, or Dionysus, etc. We also find these types of ancient deities being subliminally worshipped in Greek letter organizations. For example, each fraternity is represented by a type of god. To the ignorant initiate, this is only symbolic. But when one assesses the oaths, rituals, hazing, and fornication, it makes it much easier to understand what these practices have to do with deity worship. Let's look at the Black fraternity Divine Nine, which derives specifically from ancient Kemet and is based in having these deities spiritually lord over each group and be worshipped by sacrifice, ritual. For instance, Sigma Pi Phi is ruled by the Sphinx or Griffin. Alpha Phi Alpha is ruled by Osiris. Kappa Alpha Psi is Thoth. Phi Beta Sigma is Horus or Lucifer. Delta Sigma Theta and Eastern Stars are under Isis. And Omega Psi Phi is ruled by Anubis, the dog god. Have you seen how Omega, or what they call Q dogs, behave? Literally like dogs. They bark and howl and go nuts when they hear trigger sounds or certain songs. This is all part of mind control and spirit possession. They literally embody the spirit that is over them. It is very disturbing to witness some of these fraternities and sororities events, man. They call them probates. It's a great opportunity, though, because when you do this, you get a better understanding of what mind control actually looks like and how these social cults mold people into programmable entities that are no longer an individual, but are now a hollow link in a chain of bondsmen and bondswomen. Yet they lose themselves to feel a part of something, to feel as if they have gained ground in society, when they have only maintained to fill a role, a position in an organized system that only has interest in using their bodies as footstools and their minds as brick and mortar. Though unknowingly, many people are influenced to join by curiosity and sometimes family pressure. We understand that innocent people are lured into these social cults. As always, we must assess Hollywood's role in the conditioning of reverence towards frats and sororities, and how entertainment has always had a key role in inspiring one to pledge. Is it any coincidence that all professionals in all sectors of the social elite, including athletes and entertainers, are members under oaths to fraternities and sororities? I think not. Because to make it to certain levels of power in society, one has to be under an oath. Lucifer requires it. It is a mandatory process to have you pledge allegiance to his great plan in complete disobedience to the Heavenly Father. The great deceiver will have it no other way. How do you think one climbs the ranks of Masonry and onto the secret orders like Skull and Bones, Scroll and Key, or Quill and Dagger? By beginning from the fraternity sorority entry-level structure. Now, all brothers or sisters do not move up to social orders and lodges. In fact, very few actually do. Remember, this is a filtration system. Yet all secret orders and lodge members were once brothers and sisters under Greek letters and satanic oaths to the gods of Greece and Egypt. Let us close with the ubiquitous fraternity mantra spewed from the trained mouths of every brother that earned his letters to transgression of the Heavenly Father.
But what I did was I went into you guys' beloved ChatGPT and I asked ChatGPT, this was the prompt that I asked. I said, write an article about the dark side of sororities and fraternities and why it is demonic and why young college students should not pledge. And this is the response. For those who don't know why I'm using ChatGPT, we're like, Kareem, really? No, I did an AI video already, and we talked about ChatGPT itself, the dark side of ChatGPT, which I'll link in the comments for you guys to check out. And so I love to see exactly how these entities snitch on us. There's a whole reason why I'm reading it. Okay, if you've been subscribed. If you want to know why, check out my AI video. It's really, really, really interesting as well. And we go all in on the dark side of ChatGPT as well. And if you love your ChatGPT, you should check that out. But it reads, as young college students embark on a transformative journey of higher education, they are often met with a flurry of opportunities to connect, grow, and engage with new communities. Among these opportunities, our sororities may initially appear inviting, offering friendship, sisterhood, and a sense of belonging. However, beneath the surface lies a troubling reality that warrants serious consideration. This article serves as a cautionary plea to young women contemplating joining sororities. Let's say young men as well, but we'll focus on sororities for now, highlighting the toxic dynamics, the prevalence of hazing, and the tragic consequences. Illusion of sisterhood. At the core, sororities promote camaraderie and the idea of sisterhood. However, the environment within many of these organizations can become hostile and competitive, fostering a toxic culture that prioritizes conformity over individuality. New members may find themselves pressured to adhere to unrealistic standards of appearance, beauty, and social status. This often leads to feelings of inadequacy and self-doubt as they strive to fit into an idealized mold that is frequently unattainable. And before I continue, I know that for the Black Greek pledges and even the story of why Black people, if you're Black, you shouldn't be pledging. You shouldn't be participating in the Greek pledging. Go look at the whole history of that in its own. But nonetheless, I know specifically for the women, there's a look like the AKAs were the pretty girls, well polished, this and that. And there was like the deltas and other stigma around it. The stigma around it is that there's some sororities that are more for the bigger girls, you know, like if you're not all that cute and this and that, more aggressive, then you go into that sorority. But there's a specific look for certain sororities. It won't take you if you look a certain way. So there's already that dynamic. And if you're in it, you have the pressure to keep up that certain look to be a part of that sorority. The next is hazing, which is a deadly tradition. One of the most alarming aspects of sorority culture is the practice of hazing. Hazing rituals, which can include humiliating tasks, excessive drinking, physical, and psychological manipulation, have become a grim rite of passage for many new members. While these practices are often justified as a means of fostering unity and loyalty, they can spiral into dangerous territory. Tragically, there have been numerous instances of hazing-related deaths on sororities and fraternities alike. These incidents serve as stark reminders of the severe consequences that can arise from such rituals. Families have been shattered and lives cut short due to reckless behavior that is often overlooked or dismissed as tradition. The loss of young, promising lives is a harsh reality that should send shivers down the spine of anyone considering joining these organizations.
This morning, an entire sorority and 2 fraternity members facing charges in connection to the death of 20-year-old Dartmouth College student Wan Zhang.
Completed our investigation and issued some arrest warrants and issued summons for those charges.
Police now charging 2 members of his fraternity, Beta Alpha Omega.
Alpha Kappa Alpha, founded in 1908, is the oldest African-American sorority in America. Known as one of the most prestigious organizations for Black women, the sorority's mission statement is to cultivate and encourage high scholastic and ethical standards, to promote unity and friendship among college women, to study and help alleviate problems concerning girls and women in order to improve their social stature, to maintain a progressive interest in college life, and to be of service to all mankind. Famous women such as Toni Morrison, Star Jones, Loretta Devine, Maya Angelou, Rosa Parks, Gladys Knight, Felicia Rashad, and Jada Pinkett Smith are a part of the organization. But on September 9, 2002, the sorority would be under scrutiny for the drowning deaths of 22-year-old Kristen Hyde and 24-year-old Kanita Saffer. They were both students at California State University in Los Angeles. Kristen was a mother and was engaged to be married. At 10:30 p.m. on September 9, 2002, 4 AKA pledges were allegedly blindfolded and driven to the oceanside community of Playa del Rey, California. Dressed in matching Black running shoes, Black sweatshirts, and Black jogging pants, a group of approximately 11 women gathered on the beach that Monday night. Among them were 7 members from the citywide Sigma chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha, or AKA, as reported. On that night, the ocean surf was unusually rough, with fierce riptides and waves reaching heights of up to 10 feet. According to the lawsuit that was filed by the family, the pledges were taken to the shoreline and instructed to perform a series of exercises. Subsequently, they were blindfolded and made to participate in a Simon Says ritual that led them into the ocean waters. As the events unfolded, witnesses recall a large wave crashing onto the shore, dragging Kanita under the water. Her line sister, Kristen, was aware that Kanita couldn't swim and bravely rushed in to try to save her. Unfortunately, both were overwhelmed by the powerful wave. Shortly before midnight, on a beach now filled with ambulances, fire trucks, LAPD squad cars, rescue boats, and a hovering helicopter with searchlights, the lifeless bodies of Kristen High and Kanita Saffer were recovered from the surf. Tragically, both line sisters had drowned. Based on a preliminary investigation conducted by the Los Angeles Police Department, the 2 deaths were deemed accidental and not directly linked to the young women's pursuit of joining the sorority. Now, in response, the families of the victims filed lawsuits against the sorority. The lawsuit presented a different story about what happened to the girls, asserting that in the days leading up to the tragic incident, the 2 women were subjected to sleep deprivation while performing challenging and humiliating tasks for the sorority members. On the fateful evening before they entered the water, the lawsuit claims that they were directed to engage in a demanding series of exercises on the beach's soft, sinking sand, further contributing to their fatigue.
Tonight, disturbing allegations of potentially life-threatening hazing cutting through the serene campus at the University of Maryland. Tonight, 5 fraternities are under investigation. Newly released court documents revealed multiple alleged incidents, including students being burned with cigarettes and torches, the forced drinking of urine, and beatings with paddles. One student reportedly passed out after being forced to drink straight vodka.
Hazing is far more widespread than most assume.
55% of college students involved with social groups or athletic teams have experienced hazing. It's estimated more than 100 students have died since 2000.
If you're in a fraternity or sorority or organization and you are being hazed, report them, have someone else report them. You can even send me a note and I will report them. I was hazed terribly when I was at Indiana University. At one point, I was slammed into a wall over 100 times because I took my fan back from a brother who had taken mine. The most embarrassing part is that I put up with it. And, I'm like a strong guy. Why would I put up with this crap? And it was because I was in this new place. I didn't have a lot of friends. I didn't have other places. This is why I always urge students to find 3 places. Because if you're in a place and someone's doing something stupid, or you feel like you're being pressured, or you're compromising your morals or values, you always have an out. And if you have a group of friends outside of that place, you always have somewhere to go. And I felt powerless. It was horrible. Hurt someone, injure someone, kill someone, and you are participating in hazing, your life will be ruined and you'll ruin someone else's life because it is a felony.
Yeah, as you see, a lot of people die from the hazing. The hazing could just be so extreme and it goes so deep. It's like really secret societies. It's like secret societies, And that's another video for another day with the secret societies. Ooh, that video itself might be like 4 or 5 hours long. I'm not even trying to touch that yet with a 10-foot pole in due time. But they have similar rituals, which is like, why do you have to go through all of that to join? And to me, I always say it's kind of like witchcraft, because when you're into like voodoo or you're serving certain wives or spirits or whatever entities, when people, like when you're into voodoo, there's rituals they ask you to do that just seem like, why, right? Like sacrificing of children, which is a thing, or cutting yourself, or going to take a bath in mud and labo and filth and stuff. In Haiti, there's a lot of rituals that seems like the demons themselves are hazing the people. And I would say anything that is good and pure, don't ask you to do all that. Like God is never going to ask me to cut myself. God is never going to ask me to go take a bath in mud and pig poop to like worship him, or drink the blood of a chicken that was the head cut off or whatever. That's crazy, raw like that. And it just seems so demonic how dark the hazing is to the point people would die. And then there's a cult-like mentality. Sororities often exhibit cult-like characteristics where loyalty to the group overrides personal judgment and ethical considerations. This environment can lead to a dangerous mindset where members are conditioned to protect the organization at all costs, even if it means turning a blind eye to harmful behaviors. The pressure to conform can be suffocated, creating an atmosphere where dissent is not tolerated and questions are met with hostility. Young women who find themselves trapped in a cycle of emotional manipulation where their worth is tied to their allegiance to the sorority. This toxic dynamic can have long-lasting effects on mental health, leading to anxiety, depression, and a sense of isolation. The very bonds that were meant to uplift and support can instead become chains that bind individuals to a damaging environment, right? So cult-like, in a sense, to leave a cult, like you talk about Scientology and stuff, in a sense, members get bullied into staying there. You can't just leave. It's kind of like if you want to leave, there's instances where you get questioned, ostracized from people. There's people that have renounced their allegiance to their sororities and have gotten beat up, jumped, taken out of you, had to go into hiding, etc. And they're like older. They graduated years ago. And still that's going on from people that pledge. Like, it's that serious. I don't see that that's a demonic possession. Now I want you guys to hear some of these deliverance stories, people that are denouncing being in a fraternity or sorority. Of course, again, like I said, I'm speaking to Christians that are in it that don't know. Of course, not every person that joins a fraternity or sorority are Christians or even care for that. They don't mind pledging to a Greek deity or the ritual aspect that comes to it. But for a lot of Christians that really genuinely don't know, there are a lot of Christians that just don't want to know, that want to be blind. And there's a lot of pastors that are like Divine Nine or that were in fraternities, etc. And they be on stage preaching and, sticking out their tongues, doing the little thing that you do. And people just don't know. But pastors are not the standard. Christ is. Stay in your Bible. And, if you have ministers that are still promoting pledging and stuff like that, and people that are still not delivered, because there's a lot of people watching that probably never pledged, but their mothers did, their fathers did, people in their lives did. And that's the legacy of their family, or they're thinking about pledging because their mother, their grandmother, and their great-grandmother all, pledged, and it's putting in their minds it's what the family wants you to do. And for a lot of men as well. And they're watching this, and it's kind of like confusion. And if you go talk to your parents and tell them, hey, I don't want to pledge or this and that, and they just choose to be willfully blind or mock it. But hey, spiritual things are spiritually discerned, and God calls who he calls. Not everybody's eyes will be open, but just focus on you. All you got to do is tell the truth and spread the message. But I find a lot of these testimonies very interesting here on TikTok. I want to share a couple of them with you guys. So I hope you guys enjoy.
When you're going through the process, you're so excited to get the ladders. You're not thinking about what you're doing. You're not thinking about what you're saying. So we had the one particular setting. It was really dark. We had to go in this room. And we know about altars now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
we know about witchcraft and altars, building altars unto things. So it's this table, and it has a white tablecloth on it, and it's like a candle on it, and with ivies on it, and a picture of Ethel Hedge Malal, which is the founder of AKA. So her whatever picture and all, basically an altar built before her.
Wow.
You have to go in there and you have to kneel before the altar. And that's your way of showing your submission to this organization. And it was and also in that same moment, you had to sign your name in this book that was also set on the table. So in the moment, something don't feel right. But your flesh is so excited. Your soul, your will, your desire.
You want that.
Because you want it so bad.
Yeah.
But you're like, this is strange. This is weird.
That the Holy Ghost is speaking, but your desire for that thing is
it's so
over.
strong.
Yeah, stronger,
and then it's 56. We have 56 girls on our line.
Wow.
So you don't want to be the oddball out. You know what I'm saying?
I've been in the sorority since 2011. So almost like 13 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never wanted to have a conversation about it. Like, I never felt like I did anything that went against God, like in my process and anything. And I'm just like, I don't want to talk about it. People be real aggressive and they stepped into a new truth. And now they like, I'm going to hell if I don't accept that truth. And I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like the way it makes me feel. I ended up yesterday listening to the podcast because the girl sends me a podcast she did, and it's like an hour. I listen to it. I cry. I hear her say things about an oath that I took. Here's the thing she said to me that could have been the only thing in the podcast, and I still would have made the same decision. She says, you're talking about like some things that happen in the process. And she goes, when you show up to an altar without a sacrifice, you know what that means? You're the sacrifice. And I said, And then she said, we say something to the extent of like, this is forever until the day of judgment. I said, what? And then she was like, yeah. And then we said something like, we take this oath in front of the eternal spirit of truth. And that eternal spirit of truth is capitalized. I only know one truth, and he ain't okayed that oath. And I was, to be completely honest, I was devastated. And I was like,
because that wasn't your intention, obviously.
Wasn't my intention. And I was like, God, I have been in covenant with Satan. And the crazy,
and it's that deep.
That's what I'm saying, bro.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to.
No, it is
actually that.
And she sparked, like, now I'm like, no, I want to know, because, all right.
Yeah.
Because you try to play me. So I'm not going. Like, it's just like, and I want people to be free, because I was one of those people that would be like, nah, bro, I never did anything. You did all things that went against God, because he says you shall have no other God before me. It's not just the idol you resurrect by being in the organization. You literally come into you took an oath, bro. That alone, it's like, what the heck was I? I was so naive, but here's the kicker. And here's why I love God so much. And I can only be frustrated with myself, because I pledged spring of 2011. In fall of 2012, I tried to denounce my letters, because I felt like it was what God was asking me. I didn't have any revelation of the deep things of God. I had just got really serious about my relationship with God. And it was the first thing he asked me for.
In 2012.
And here I am, 12 years.
And you officially denounced.
Last night, with the quickness, sent an email to the organization and said, I'm renouncing this because it goes against my beliefs in Jesus.
Wow.
And I want my name off a roll, because the only book I want to be reading in is the Lamb's Book of Life. I don't want to see my name nowhere else. The crazy thing is, a while ago, my friend had a dream where God showed her a principality in Los Angeles, right? Within Hollywood. And she says the name, and I go, whoa, that is a goddess that exists on the shield of the sorority I was in. I said, how I'm going to have authority in a city and I'm in covenant with its principality? Bro, it's that deep. To be in covenant means we became one. And the thing is, God honors covenants. Even if they are with another God, he honors them.
My mother was in a sorority when she went to college, because both of my parents went to college. So I grew up in a very educated home as well. And so I ended up getting in this sorority, and we ended up going through horrible rituals. And these are rituals that I also did to other people, whether it would be slapping, beating, eating dog food, paddling, every sort of demeaning thing that you can imagine, we went through, as opposed to kneeling down before altars, taking oaths to our final judgment, this false god, on the shield, on the crest, like.
Now, Melissa, did you have any idea that what you were doing was unto false gods or anything like that? Or was this just normal? Like, did you have any of these concerns that you have now?
It was totally normal because my mother was in a sorority, my aunt was in a sorority, my brother was in a fraternity, my grandfather on my mother's side was a Mason, Shriner. So this thing was introduced in my family. I was groomed. I was, as a baby, wearing Future of the sorority, Future t-shirts, like that I would be this. So I was groomed into this. Every last one of my mother's friends were a part of the sorority. So I knew I actually picked the college based upon them having that sorority. So I just knew that this was something I wanted to do. But the deceitful thing about sororities and fraternities, because they are secret societies, is that on the surface, you see that they do community service. You see that they're college-educated women. You see that the founders were a part of like a women's suffrage march. You see all these wonderful things, but you do not know until you get in and you're chosen what you're going to do. And the deception when you get into a sorority is they don't give you a manual so you know what you're about to do that evening. You walk in blindly to every last one of the rituals or the classes that you're going to do. And that's when you see that you're doing witchcraft. But it's not, you don't know that. And I was very blind. I never had a relationship with Jesus, did not step foot in a church. So I was doubly blind on any of this being demonic. As a matter of fact, I wasn't even going to go to one of the rituals because they do the rituals in a church. And because I didn't believe in church, I wasn't even going to go to that. This is how deceived I was. And so you look at these things that you're going through, like it's making you tough, it's making you strong. There's nothing, and they're building you up. But they also are killing a lot of individuality and they're indoctrinating you into the sorority. So it's like I go from one cult to another one. Not only did those things happened to me while crossing over into the sorority, I also did it to other people that I brought over in the sorority. Even worse, there is something that really shifted and changed once I crossed over into the sorority. And this is what leads me down a path of a lot of sexual immorality. And we're taught to have pride in the sorority. We are taught that we're popular. We now have women that are like following around us that just want to be a part of the sorority. So you're bullying them, you're hazing them. You have this superiority complex, this complex that you are in some way, shape, or form like a god, they want what you have. And so now you're going to manipulate them and use them and make them run errands for you and make them do all these things. So something really shifted in my bully personality. If I wasn't a bully before, I became even more of a mean girl, a bully afterwards. But I now started to manipulate young girls the same way that this thing happened to me when I was younger, and manipulated them to make it seem like they were doing this for a good cause. This was honor. This was respect. And meanwhile, I was doing nothing but taking advantage of them. Also, something happened to me in regards to sexual immorality. The second that I took that covenant unto the false god, which was Minerva, by the way, that's the false god that's over the sorority, that we would wear it over our crest. We would even say songs that all my peace, my love, my happiness, I give it to the sorority. Everything was about worship to this sorority. And so afterwards, I ended up being in different relationships, but the relationships would always end because I was indoctrinated that I don't ever want to get married. And on top of that, I never want to have kids. So this led me down a path of extreme sexual immorality where I was literally sleeping with a lot of people. I didn't care. I was very numb. And this also led me to my senior year in college to get pregnant. And then I ended up getting pregnant, and this was by a guy at the time who I was talking to, but we weren't in a relationship. And I was like, there's no way that I can have this child because I was indoctrinated that my body, my choice. And why would I bring a child into this situation where I'm not even with the dad and I'm not going to be a single mom, and just total selfishness. And so I ended up having an And I never forget the day that I drove to the clinic. Literally, as I was driving to the clinic before pulling in, I saw Christians standing outside with signs and saying, please don't go in there, and begging and pleading not to go in there. But my human will was, I was going to have this There was no way that I was going to bring a kid into this because my ego, my image, that meant more to me than anything. And I just remember sitting on the table, they show you the sonogram of the baby and still making a decision. It was like God was trying to give me grace and I still made the decision.
I never thought anything bad about these organizations. I never had in my mind that it was ungodly. I mean, if anything, I thought it was great because, I mean, that's the way they paint these sororities to be. And I saw this guy post about, Delta being something wrong about being in Delta. And I'm like, what is that about? And so I was hanging out with a friend one day. He was like, well, you might want to look into your sorority because it's demonic. And I was like, my sorority demonic? The devil has to get crafty. He has to con you out of your worship. He has to think of different ways. But when you think about how he tempted Jesus, and he said, I'll give you all of these things if you just bow down and worship me, because nobody is going to physically bow down and worship the devil if they are a Christian. So if you claim Jesus Christ as Lord, you're not going to just willingly do that, right? And he has to kneel and bow to get into these organizations. You just think it's weird. You don't think it's like, okay, I need to sit back and be like, what we doing? You're just doing it because you want to be a part of the organization. I went through the pledge process, initiations, rituals, and I didn't think nothing of it at the time. When you do these oaths and things where you have to kneel and you have to do all this weird stuff, like you're not thinking about what the context of what it is. You're not thinking about that. The Greeks did not worship the God of the Bible. The Greeks literally worshiped idol gods. They had pagan rituals, y'all. But that spirit that's hiding behind these organizations parades itself and makes the organization as an idol. So it puts the organization on a pedestal. You're singing praises to this organization and revering it. That's idolatry, okay? God does not want us attached to other things that don't glorify him. He does not want us attached to other gods. He does not want us doing rituals to honor other gods or just to put an organization on a pedestal. That's idolatry. This is not fantasies, y'all. Like, it's literally a spirit attached to that Greek god that you wear. That's where the devil wants you to be at. He wants you to be in a place of serving two masters. You got a Greek god on your shield and you in church raising your hands, praising the Lord at the altar. That's serving two masters. We had to swear by these gods. We had to take oaths. We had to serve them, a lifetime of commitment to serve this organization. And we had to worship them by bowing and singing these hymns. You got to pledge your life to this thing. Your life that you didn't give yourself, you going to give it to somebody else and not God? Or you going to give it to God and you only got one life. You can't split it. Choose this day who you'll serve. Just because it says in Jesus' name, it does not mean it's connected to Jesus. It got to be 100% Jesus to be connected to Jesus or from Jesus because Jesus is pure. Why would Jesus be okay with us being a part of an organization that when in his word said, don't have no other gods but him, and yet we're connected to a organization that the devil is really conning people to be in a religion that is rooted in Greek religions. We're not called to light candles to represent dead people, okay, to show homage, to have them on an altar, because this table, God showed me, was literally nothing more than just an altar. This is where the witchcraft took place. Why are we doing all that for somebody that passed away? That is sorcery, y'all. That is not godly. That is witchcraft. That is what witches do.
Greek god family tree. Cronus and Raid had Poseidon, Hera, Zeus, and I'm trying to figure out this order because it don't make no sense. If Zeus is supposed to be the one, then how your daddy Cronus? And how you equal to Hera and Poseidon? It don't make no, this is stupid. That's what it is, Elder. Confusion on Mount Olympus. Confusion. Who's in charge? What are y'all doing? But secondly, in that passage in Revelations, Jesus addressed the fact that they ate at the table with false gods and condoned what? False god worship. Somebody like, well, I don't worship false god. Well, if you pledge to a Greek fraternity or sorority, you do. You pledge Freemason, you do. You in Boule, you do. Well, my name is just on the roll, but I'm not active. Well, have you denounced it? You don't have to be active. The demon is already active. Have you denounced it?
Yeah, and the fact it's very cult-like. You can't say anything bad about it. It's crazy to me. Like, if you're in a group and people can't question or say anything bad to you or else you're dead, that's crazy to me. That's like a cult. Or you get jumped or it's been instances where if you do their hand symbols or do a dance that the sorority or fraternity is for them in front of someone who pledged and they know you're not a member, they'll beat you up right there. Like, they take it that serious. That's not demonic to y'all. That's weird. Like, no one, unless you're one of us, you can't. Is that one of us versus them? I don't know. That's just me. To me, pledging is demonic. That's just me. And I'm not going to go further with ChatGPT. I could ask yourselves. But the more I look down the rabbit hole, heard people's stories, watch some videos on this, I'm like, this is like not giving. This is very dark. It's very dark. It's very, very dark. And it's giving secret society. Only it's not that secret. And it's young kids doing that. And typically a secret society, let me tell y'all, just from being in corporate world, a lot of opportunities, when I was in corporate world, a lot of opportunities would go through, if you were in a sorority, you automatically have that network, right? So if I was an AKA and I applied to this corporation and the other member was an AKA, they automatically put in a good word for me. They don't have to necessarily know me. That's the network. So they tap into those networks. And a lot of people that do get tapped on the shoulder that is successful, because there's a lot of unsuccessful people that pledged. And by what I mean is that it's not like you're a millionaire with your own Fortune 500 company or this, that, whatever. I'm talking about those that climb the social ladder through networking and stuff like that, that were pledges, whether white, especially in these white Greek fraternities and sororities, they get tapped on the shoulder to join secret societies, certain secret societies, right? There's levels to this, right? They use those connections as like a bonding tool. I know people that gotten jobs, that their kids got accepted into the schools unwarranted because of those type of connections and affiliations. And I'm not knocking it because, like, I'm a strong believer, as I said on this channel before, I believe in the power of networking and connecting with people. Like, I'm not one of those people that won't, like, make it a habit to know the sheriff in your local community, police officers around you, who's your attorney general, lawyers that are nearby, know your neighbors, know, like, your doctor, send Christmas cards to them, stuff like that. I'm pro for that. I gave y'all this advice in my business and financial growth playlist. I'm always teaching y'all how to network because that really does help you go far. So by no means am I saying it's a bad thing that they necessarily use their network for that. But as you do go up and climb higher, there's a lot of benefits behind the scenes as to why people pledge. It's not just yes, a lot of people when you're young initially, like me, when I wanted to be an AKA, I wanted to be cool. I wanted to be cute. I wanted to, but a lot of people do join because their mother was an AKA, their grandmother was an AKA. It just ran down their family lines. And then when they know that, hey, this opportunity was afforded to them, they got this job, they got that, whatever. So they just kind of do it. It's kind of like a lot of people go to schools or universities based off of generations, like their family. Like, my mother went to Duke University, I'm going to go to Duke University. My children are going to go to Duke University. My great-grandchildren. It's like a line of you guys that's going to go to Duke University, or the thing is to go to Yale or MIT or this, whatever. And it's a lineage. And for a lot of Black communities, which we tend to run away from that, we do that too. Because if you have a family member, if all your family went to Howard, you're going to Howard University, okay? If they all went to Georgia State, you going to Georgia State, FAMU, FIU. Like, that's just how it is. Spelman, all of those colleges, they're generational colleges in the Black community as well. And if there's pledges, your people's pledge, you're going to pledge. So a lot of people don't just join to be stupid. That's why I'm kind of like cautious. There's pressure when you're young, you want to join or whatever. And if I was an AKA and I didn't know Christ and this and that, and I was able to get into it, because the college I was, I was supposed to go to FAMU, Florida A&M University. And, most of the people I went to school with, I wanted to go to more of a historically Black college. I went to a historically Black high school, and I already have my dorm mate and all that set up. And then, circumstances happened where I had people that ill in my family and some deaths in the family. And it was better for me to stay close to home. That I see that as a blessing in disguise because I was ready to be into a lot of stuff. Okay. And it would have been a generational thing for me. Like, it would have been a generational thing. I could see how, you want to pass down traditions to kids. So that's all I have to say on this. It's a heavy topic. And I just feel like if you're going to pledge your allegiance to Christ. Don't pledge your allegiance to these little groups, cliques, networks. The best network to have is a network with heaven. I know I sound corny, but like for real, Bible. Because listen, all the networking in the world, if God has a job for you, it will be for you. It will be for you. It don't matter what the credentials of that networking is. So consider that as well and network with heaven. And not just that, like anything, my rule of thumb, anything that is disgusting, that requires, like, God's yoke is not heavy. I always say all that. It's light. It's not a burden. Yes, you lose friends. Yes, you miss out on stuff all the time. But then what I'm missing out on, I'm looking at, am I really missing out? The friends that I lost, that I really want, they would have been a noose around my neck, right? God never asked you to do anything this crazy. And the stuff that they're asking you to do just to be accepted is crazy. And a lot of people just want to be accepted. And they get into these fraternities and sororities to get accepted. And people like to feel, you got to learn how to stand alone. That's the moral of this that I would say. If you can learn to stand alone, accept yourself, and have acceptance to Christ, all of this stuff wouldn't even be a thing. Learn to stand alone. That's the gist of this. Just belonging. I love you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in. And I will see you in the next one.